G'day everyone, Spud here from Spud's Games. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to do a bit of an LCD comparison. Let's go. So what I'm going to be doing is comparing two LCDs. I'm not going to compare them against CRTs because it's two different technologies. It's kind of like, comparing a Ferrari to a Tesla. It's just two totally different technologies. Yeah, they do the same thing, but they're based on different, as I said, technologies. So no point comparing the two. What I want to do is I want to find out how useful they are, one for retro video games and two for retro computing. The other comparison I want to do is consumer versus broadcast quality. Now, as I said, I picked up two in the gap that I had. One was a consumer LG Flatron, which accept RGB SCART, and the other one was a broadcast quality Panasonic monitor. So without further ado, let's take a look at both monitors. So first up, let's take a look at the Panasonic broadcast LCD that I picked it up. As before I mentioned, it was $150 on Marketplace, and just like any Panasonic CRT broadcast monitor, it's very similar button layout. As you can see across the front here, we have all our input buttons as well as our menu buttons. We have two function buttons which are programmable, so they can do multiple different things, depends on how we program them in the menu. Then we have our dials, which you would normally see on a CRT one as well. Your phase, chroma, brightness, contrast, and also volume. I will note that this does apparently have inverted commas stereo speakers, but yeah, the speakers aren't very good. On the back of this monitor, you'll see all BNC connectors. It does your composite, it does S-video, it does RGB, it does component, and it also does VGA via BNC connectors as well. The model number of the LCD, the broadcast LCD from Panasonic, is a BTLH1700WE. Now, for a comparison, a consumer LCD, here we have an LG Flatron monitor, which is also doubled up as a TV. And the model number of this is a M1921AH. There are two models of this available, an A and an AH, so this is the H version. The A version of this apparently is a little bit better than this in regards to stability, etc. But as we look at the monitor, it has speakers in the front. It's a 4x3 monitor. All the control buttons are on top. You can use a remote for this as well, which I don't have. And on the back, once again, we see our standard inputs. We have RGB via SCART, and I believe that also does component. We have S-video, composite, and we also have VGA. So here we are, we've got an A1200 hooked up with Workbench, and the first thing I notice, if I just zoom in here a little bit, is the screen is super steady. I'll just focus that in a little bit. So I'm looking at that there, and there is zero shake with that whatsoever. Now, LCDs I've experienced in the past, they do have a bit of shake there, and this one, as you can see, is dead still. I'll just check the mouse to see if there's any ghosting, but I don't think there will be, but we'll have a look. Now I'm moving that mouse pretty quickly there. There is a tiny bit, but I can't, nothing to, worry me or anything like that. If I go up and have a look at, if I zoom right in on the screen, and I don't know if this will pick it up or not, but you can see, come back a little bit, there are very faint, I suppose you'd call them darker lines, but it's very hard to see. I'm sitting about 4 or 5 foot back from the screen, and I can't notice them until I sit right up next to it. So, but the main thing for me is that screen is really steady. And as you can see, if you look at that work disk and RAM disk, the blacks are really black. So I'd be really happy with this picture if I was using this particular LCD for Amiga stuff. Because as I said before, the ones I've used previously, and I'll show you exactly what I mean with the other LCD, is that picture can bounce around. What I'll do is I'll plug the LG in, and I'll give you that example. So here we are now with the LG hooked up. And straight away, even standing back about 6 foot from this screen, I can notice there's a distinct flicker or vibration there in all the text, or basically the whole screen. You also notice that the screen's not quite aligned. I think that's had to do with what we saw in the broadcast LCD, where those borders weren't exactly the same. So I don't know how to access the service menu in this. I think you have to do it via remote, so I can't adjust the picture. But what I'll do is I'll try and zoom in and we'll have a look at that picture shake. So I'll just sort of concentrate on the white line at the top here. And see if I can just move it across a little bit, and then we'll fix the zoom up. So hopefully you guys can see what I'm seeing there. And that is distinct vibration, you know, in that, I'll see if I can fix this up a little bit more there. You know, in that text. And also a good point or reference is when it says, where it says system as well down the bottom. And I'll just fix up the focus. I am manually focusing this because what happens is with this LCD is the camera tends to struggle with the autofocus. So, but once again, I don't know, hopefully the camera's picking it up, but there's certainly distinct, I suppose, vibration there as well. So the picture is a lot more difficult on the eyes, I suppose you would call it. Now what I'll do is I'll just check with the mouse and see if there's any ghosting if I move that around. You know, I'll center this back towards the middle. And I'll just grab this mouse. I'll see this mouse pointer. Yeah, there is a lot more shadow or ghosting there with that mouse. And also too, it's not quite as smooth as what I found on the other LCD. So, and even up close here, wow, that vibration is, yeah, really hard on the eyes. So, although yes, it does work, and you could probably get away with this if you're sitting a little bit further back. I certainly probably, you know, at a struggle, yeah, maybe you could use this, you know, if you couldn't find a decent CRT for your Amiga, but it's a bit of a struggle on the eyes. So here we are, I've got the Mega Drive plugged in, and one thing I will say on this particular LCD, the broadcast one, the anti-glare screen on it is really good. You can see over to the left there, the light shining, or it's brighter over that side. That's because I've got a newer LED light shining pretty much directly on it or from the left-hand side. Now I actually had to move that light with the other LG because it was reflecting off it way too much. But this one you can see it dulls it down really well. So I've just moved that light away. And one thing you can always tell with the Mega Drive EverDrive screen is it's always a good one for blacks. And as you can see, there's actually little bars down the left and right hand side because it's a 4:3 signal on a 16:9 monitor. What I'll do first is I'll show you how steady this picture is. I'll just zoom in here. Now if I look at, for instance, combat there, and I'll just stop shaking the camera with my hand, and you can see that picture is dead still. Like there's no movement there whatsoever. Whereas we found with the LG, there was certainly definitely bouncing around on that lettering. I'll just zoom back out. Ignore the shake because of that's just my hand trying to control the tripod. So we'll just zoom back out a little bit. As I was saying before with the blacks, so there is black bars down the left and right hand side, but you wouldn't know. That's because the black on this is really good. Now one easy way just to prove it to you guys, I'll just turn the brightness up. You can see the brightness is set pretty much, you know, in the middle there. But as I turn the brightness up of the picture area, you'll see now, you can see where the actual screen, you know, separates from the bars on the left and right. So I'll just turn that back down. You can see I had to turn the brightness way up to get that to show. So I'll just turn it back down again. I think it was set at about 30. And we'll throw a game on, eh? So I'll just put Sonic on. Now I haven't got the sound plugged in for this, but the colours are really good. And you can see there, yeah, that looks fantastic. Now I know there's going to be the obvious issues with LCDs, you know, you're not going to have the scan lines, but I'm just going to see if I'll zoom the camera in a little bit and see if we can, I mean this is a lot of scrolling here, but there is no, I can't pick up any real ghosting or jittering, because with LCDs you get a lot of jittering if you're moving quickly sideways, side scrolling games, but this is very smooth. You know, I'm sitting 6 foot back, and I can tell you now, if I was If I didn't have a CRT and I was sitting this far away playing it, I'd have no issues with this whatsoever. That looks really good. Let me just try another game. I'll just zoom back out here a little bit. I'll just reset this back. I'm just going to have a quick look close up to see if I can pick up anything really out, like, you know, that's going to be a problem. No, I can't. If I'm playing that, I don't have any issues whatsoever. Sorry to say, for those CRT lovers. Let's just try, you know, Wonder Boy. I think it's in Monster World. There's one here that gives a really good picture. Yeah, this one here. So once again, we've got some text there on the screen. I'll just zoom in. That's my hand shaking the camera there. I'll just let go. Once again, you can see how still that is. I'll just fix up a bit of the zoom. You can see that's dead still now. I'll just zoom back out. Fix up the zoom a little bit. There we go. So once again, really nice picture. Really good colours. The colours on this are really bright. I'll just try one more game. I just want to have a look at the text because there's a lot of still stuff on this screen. And there's zero movement in that whatsoever. Let me just get right up close and have a look. Yeah, it's not moving at all. Let's maybe pick up, let's say Battletoads. Let's give Battletoads a go. Once again, you can't pick up that that's a 4x3. It looks like everything's designed by 16:9 there because everything, all the blacks are just black. That looks really good. Oop. Haven't played this in a while. So yeah, once again, I'll just quickly stick my head in here and have a good look. I mean, if I'm sitting a foot away from this, yeah, it's a little bit, you know, pixelated and whatnot, but, you know, more than sort of 2 or 3 feet back and it looks fine. Anyway, I'm sorry to say for the CRT lovers out there that, you know, I can see this as certainly a really neat, viable alternative. If you can't get a hold of a broadcast quality CRT, then this might be the next best step. So now we've got the LG plugged in, and the first thing I notice is all the text looks a little bit washed out and a little bit blurry. And one of the things I have noticed once again is if I just go up and look at that page section, hopefully the camera will pick this up. That picture is certainly bouncing around. Let me just have a quick look and see. Yeah, I don't like that whatsoever. I can see that moving for sure. But anyway, enough of that. I kind of knew that was going to happen already based on what we saw with the Amiga. Let's just zoom back out there. Let's put a game on and we'll see how that fares. Let's come down. The same game, I think it was Sonic the Hedgehog we played. So yeah, I can certainly see there's a lot of bouncing around on this screen. It's certainly not a stable picture whatsoever. The picture quality is definitely not as good, which is kind of expected. And what I'll do is I'll put on, yeah, it's definitely nowhere near the quality of the broadcast monitor. I'll just put the game on myself so I can control Sonic a little bit, put him in positions where I can maneuver the camera and have a look. So this is a good example here, and hopefully this will pick it up. You know, I'll zoom in on Sonic himself here, and hopefully the camera picks it up. I'll let go of the tripod, and you can see there, I'm not touching the tripod, you can see that shake there. Kind of gives Sonic the blurry look as well. So yeah, that's not good. That kind of is a bit hard on the eyes to watch, although it works. Let's just check some ghosting here, if I can. It doesn't seem to have a lot of ghosting. Let's move into the center of the screen there. A little bit of blurriness, but not too much. But the colours on this certainly aren't as bad. But that flicker is definitely a killer for my eyes. Might not be for some younger people with better eyes than me, but I'm not going to say it's unplayable. But yeah, I mean, certainly this over the other LCD, the broadcast LCD, is just, it doesn't compare. And I will say the colours on this are certainly nowhere near as good as what the colours were and the blacks were on the broadcast LCD. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to position the camera exactly the same spot, which might be a little bit difficult. It might be zooming in and out just a touch, but exactly the same spot. I won't touch a thing. I'll take some still photos and I'll put them side by side, and then you guys can have a look for yourselves. So in summary, would I consider an LCD for retro video games? If I had access to a broadcast quality LCD and I didn't have access to a high quality CRT, then I'd definitely consider the LCD as a viable option. Would I consider it? Would I consider a consumer one? Probably not. Not based on what I've seen with that LG. The flicker, the quality, it's just not there. Now, as for retro computing, yes, I would definitely consider a broadcast quality LCD for retro computing. That's no issues there. A lot of the retro computer guys like to do the retro coding and whatnot, and for text-based stuff, there's no vibration, it's very still. And also for the video games, a lot of the older computer stuff, the Amigas, the TIs, they're not high-moving video games, or they're not fast-paced video games. So I would certainly consider that definitely I would certainly consider a broadcast quality LCD for retro computers, not a problem. So that's it from me, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been useful for you. I know it's not my standard usual CRT retro video games type material, but you know what? I thought here's an opportunity for me to share some information, so I just thought I'd do it. So until the next video, guys, I'll see you then.